Hello, everybody, to episode number 21 of the Wi-Fi Chats or the Vice Mind Fireside Chats. And I'm absolutely happy to see the gang together with Alec Wells, Melanie Holmes, Erika Nadu, and Brett Corcoran. You're all really, really welcome. And today we were wondering, or I was wondering, and I have this question to you all. Is it possible to build genuine connection online, to have an authentic community possible online? The reason why I ask is the new pandemic apparently is loneliness. More and more people get lonely, and loneliness affects not only our mental health, also our physical health. Lonely people die on an average much, much earlier than people who have deep connections and relationships. And we're spending more and more time online. So the question is it possible to build them online? What are your thoughts on it?
I'm going to say yes, and I could leave it at that, but for me, I've discovered that I have a group of friends who I can meet just as simply as sort of messaging someone and say, do you fancy a coffee? But we do it on Zoom. And then I've got a broader, wider community where we have deeper, more, let's say, philosophical conversation as well. And I believe that that community is the closest, strongest, and most authentic set of friends that I've had in my entire life.
I can go. The short answer to the question is yes for me. I'm experiencing it, right? Like this podcast came together because of online connections. Only two of us are in the same vicinity, in the same actual area. The rest, we're all spread out all over the place. So when I think of it, basically, like, what does it take to build a genuine and authentic connection with someone? That's a personal answer, but for me, it takes genuine and authentic conversation. It takes genuine and authentic participants, and it takes time, right? So the more time you spend with someone, the more authentic the connection is, the deeper the connection goes. So Zoom, for our purposes, I mean, there are other teams, whatever it is that you use to connect with someone. Like Alex said, it's easy, first of all, to be able to say, hey, I have a free, 20 minutes. You want to hop on and have a conversation? You can spend a lot of time on Zoom and spend a lot of time having deep, real conversations with people. I think it would be limiting to us to think that the only people we can have genuine and authentic connections with are people within our view, like that we can actually touch. There's a whole wide world out here of people that we can connect with that are like-minded. So yeah, I'm saying yes, you can definitely build. And look, there are schools of thought that think that kids that spend too much time online, like it's detrimental to them. And I'm not going to say that it's not detrimental. And there's like addiction building stuff that goes on with that. Yes. But having been the parent of a son who built genuine communities around like his video gaming, like they talk, they connect, they reach out with each other, they laugh, they joke. So if I'm hearing my son when he was younger laughing, and even still now if he's home laughing and joking with someone who's not even in his room, I'm not going to say that's a negative thing for him. So yeah, I believe that it can be, you can definitely build connections with people online.
I like what you're saying, because straight away we're making a distinction here, isn't it? What makes a good connection? What elements make deep relationships? It's maybe less the platform rather than how we do it and how we turn up and what we use. And this is, I think, where the conversation about online, not online, sometimes goes wrong, because you hear all this talk about, oh, online is bad, but what's bad about online? I mean, if you find a community online, you have found a community. It's very, very different being in a Zoom room, having a real conversation where we can be honest with each other, to just sitting for 5 hours in the evening and swiping on TikTok or Instagram, where you just watch and consume little videos because you have no real connection, no conversation with an actual person. So is it more how we use it and the type of online media we consume, or it's probably the question about, are we consumers or are we participants?
I think you really encapsulated the thing there. We either consume content for our own amusement, or we share experience and triumphs and tragedy, and we get the same kind of support. Probably the only thing lacking there is the physical hug if we're experiencing tragedy. But through experience of this online community, I know that when I have met up with people, and yeah, it's not as regular as perhaps I would like, and it does take more planning and effort. But when we do meet up in person as well, there is no facade. You know, nobody has been putting on any airs or graces. I have yet to meet anybody who has been substantially different from their rectangle. And I think that's because it's not consumption. It's because we genuinely are seeking to understand and listen and talk about those sorts of things, that even if they were real world connections, would make us that kind of enhanced, elevated kind of friendships that people truly value.
Can I just say from my experience, I think if you'd have asked me 6 years ago, my answer might have been no. Because I remember the very first times, like, that I kind of went into Zoom meetings and that kind of thing, and it was all very new. I was very self-conscious, having the camera in my face, and conscious about coming across how I should. And because I think with the online, sometimes you kind of get thrown in a little bit, and you're going to a 1 hour, 2 hour Zoom meeting. Whereas in offline world, when we start to make connections with people, they're normally gradual. Initially it'll be just a hi, how you doing? And then slowly, if we feel a little bit of a connection, we might start to have slightly deeper conversations, that the connection will start to get formed a little bit stronger. I think that was my only hurdle, I think, with online community in the beginning, is that trust thing. Suddenly I'm in a meeting with people I don't really know that well, and I haven't had the chance maybe to speak to them individually, so there was this little bit of a kind of wall that maybe I used to put up initially, because I kind of felt a little bit vulnerable in those situations. But as I say, that was 6 years ago. So moving forward, I'm so glad I stuck with it, because like Alex said, I now have some of the most wonderful connections online that I class as friends. I know there are people there 24/7 if I need support, if I need to talk to somebody, and as Alex said, either just for a quick 10-minute chat, or whether I want to sit and put the world to rights and talk about more serious subjects. I've got people in my online community that I can do that with, and I feel I have just as strong a connection, perhaps even a stronger connection, than many people I have actually here in my community. So a resounding yes from me too.
I don't like to put Brett on the spot. I know he's a man of great reflection, but I also know, Brett, that you are a real people person. You connect in a way with people in the real world that is alien to me. What about you? Do you find that you're able to connect and have the same sorts of conversations as you would when you go off on your travels?
I do, but when I go off on my travels, it's different because I'm more pulled to talking to somebody that I don't know. As far as online, you could definitely build a connection. The piece that I would miss online is getting out of the house and doing things with somebody. So there's that whole piece of connection on that next level while you're doing something with that person, right? And still having that deep, so it's a tighter bond. Now you're moving into the next level of the in-person piece. Online is great, and you could build the connections. I mean, I have built those connections. Haven't really met anybody. It reminds me of like remember the phone chats that you used to have where it was like so many people from all over the place and everybody's talking over each other and you don't know who's talking. What's your name? And you know them by their voice. And then Zoom came around and now you got a picture of that person that goes along with that voice. So it's great and there is connection. I'll never knock it, right? Because otherwise I'd never know you guys. So therefore, it is a great thing. But sometimes the chair is is not my happy place. I don't like sitting down in a chair so much. I'd rather be walking around and moving and doing things. So for me, that's the one thing for me. I like to move around. And yes, I could take my phone and be on my cell phone walking around, but then I'm a distraction to other people because then you got the background and where's he going now? Kind of thing going on. Um, so there's something about in person, and I'm really looking forward to catching up with everybody. Um, there's something about in person that I can't put my finger on it. There's something about being with another person and other people being around and seeing where that goes and that kind of interaction. Like, I don't know you on that level, that other piece of interaction with other people, say around us and how we interact with those people. So that's another piece that I'd be curious about and see how it all comes together. Um, yeah, but as far as the online, I love the online connection. I I'm a hands-on person though. I like the connection. I like to be able to give a high five or the hug or whatever it is, the handshake. Um, there's something there for me. And I think I'm a little bit more quiet online than I am uh in person, possibly. You can let me know.
I'll let you know. That's a true statement. Yes, that is a true statement.
I liked what you said there, Brett, when you said, yeah, you can build really deep, wonderful connections online. You're coming together, you're having these deep conversations, but meeting a person in the flesh, it brings it up to another level. It just puts this other layer on it where you're together in a room and maybe go on an excursion together or having some fun together or an adventure and experiencing together the outside with each other. It just brings it up another layer. There's something to it in the real world, which we probably long term would be missing online. And I find it really interesting. And there's something they have found out. It's called touch deprivation. If we don't have physical connection with other human beings, um, it affects our moods. It physically actually impacts how well we feel mentally. Because in our skin, there are what they call C-tactiles, which actually, when they get touched, send all kind of positive signals to the brain, and hormones are released, which makes you feel good and you feel not as lonely. It makes you feel more safe. It brings down anxiety. You feel calmer. And that's why a lot of people who live on their own have cats or dogs because and feel so happy with their pets, and other people don't understand why the pets become so important, but this is one of the reasons, because you get the same sensation by petting the pet. And that's why it's also so important for children to be hugged by their parents, because it builds for them a different layer. They're better in connecting with people when they become adults, when they had this physical connection with the parents as children. So yeah, maybe we need to see it as a great opportunity to meet people online, to meet people from around the world, to share experiences early. But when it comes to it, we probably still need to have a community in our real world.
I'm happen to be going on a probably 8-9 hour road trip with Erika and Brett in just over a week's time to meet a whole bunch of other people, Gabby, obviously you being one of them. And I'm not going to say it's the like number one thing that I'm looking forward to, but I have high hopes for the amount of laughter and joy that I've got no fear of like, oh my God, we're going to spend 8 or 10 hours in a car together. We might not even like each other by the end of it. My real true belief is that it is going to be the road trip of a lifetime, and I can't wait for it. And that is part of what Brett's talking about, I think. And just because it is online doesn't necessarily mean that we can't make the effort to think about it. It's not a lot different to a dating website, is it? You might connect online and you move up through the levels of a text and then a phone call and then voice, whatever it is. You can tell I don't do internet dating. And then hopefully you meet somebody and you get on with them. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And I believe I read somewhere that a hug should last 22 seconds. Erika's nodding. So that's the time it takes for that tactile sensation to, so not unusual for me to like hug someone and just whisper 22 seconds in their ear. And
That's creepy.
it makes for an interesting reaction, I can tell you.
Creeper. Yeah. So, listening to Brett and what Alec just said, I'm like, I have this permagrin on, right? Imagining that road trip. It's just going to be great. Like it's been years in the making of this connection online. So, that's also what I said. Time builds the connection. You get to know somebody deeper. I do grief work online, and I don't know what deeper kind of work you can do, but to be able to do that online, to me, those are some serious connections that you can build doing that. But when Brett was speaking about there's something, and Gabby, there's something about the in-person thing in my mind. I'm like going through all those things. Like when you're with your friend, like you get to know people even at a deeper level when you spend time with them, because you notice, what they eat at a restaurant, or what they order, or what their favorite, thing is, or how they smell, or, facial expression, or immediate reactions to things. So you get to know those things about people when you're in person with them. That builds that sense of connection even more. But as I'm sitting here, I'm asking the question, is it possible to build genuine and authentic connections online? It's possible to build them everywhere, right? Like you can build them. I think is it possible is the word there. Yeah, anything is possible. You can build. It is about the type of connection you're looking for, right? Is what you're going to get. So you can also have really inauthentic connections online, but just as you can in person. Like the mode of how you're doing it, I don't think is the problem. I think it's what you're putting out and is what you're going to get back, kind of thing. But sometimes there are real, sneaky, shady people in the world, and whether they're online or not, they're there. So being online in and of itself doesn't mean that it's an impossibility for you. And then it gives you like a reason, something to strive for, to actually meet up with people, right? So for me, I love knowing that I have friends all over the place. It's like, oh my God, it's opening up my horizons where, okay, so we're going here now. Next, we're coming to Gabby. Truth be told, that's next where we're headed to Ireland, right? Like, and then maybe we're going to come crash where Melanie is and whatever. I don't know, but it just opens up so many different opportunities and exploration that you can expand your world, really, if you're open to connecting with people that way.
Can I just say, hearing you guys talk, because I know you four are actually going to meet up shortly, and I'm not going to be there. And just hearing you guys talk, I felt really sad for a moment there, because I'm not going to be part of that. But that proves to me what a strong, authentic connection I've built with you guys. Because for it to bother me that you're going to all meet up and I'm not going to be there, it means that I feel that I have that connection with you, and I want to build those relationships even stronger. So it's kind of a double-edged sword in a way. And I can totally relate to what Brett was saying as well. Sometimes, yeah, that physical contact as well for me is important. And I'll give an example. I had she's a girl that works in the village. She works in one of the restaurants. I don't know her that well, but I see her every week, so we chat. And her brother passed away a couple of weeks ago, and so I turned up the restaurant, and her boss told me, her brother's passed away, and she was in the kitchen. I just went into the kitchen in the restaurant, and I just gave her a hug, because it was one of those situations where I think, there were no words to say. What could I say? And we stood in the middle of the kitchen, and it did go on for more than 22 seconds. I think it was probably about 10 minutes. And we just hugged in the middle of the kitchen. And all the other staff are working, just walking around us. And, I just felt that's what she needed in that moment. And obviously, they're the kind of things you can't do online. If I'd have had a Zoom meeting with her and she's just lost her brother, then I would have been stumbling trying to find the right words to say, and trying to fill in the silences and the gaps. So sometimes, yeah, I think maybe the face-to-face meetings can be more important. They can trump maybe the online meetings, but I think in building relationships, I think you can build just as an authentic and strong relationship online. And like Alex said, and once you've done that, if the ball is in your court, if you want to then arrange to meet up with the people that you've built relationships with in today's world, normally that's something that we can work towards doing. So,
And
Alex, yeah, go ahead.
like you said about not knowing what to say about the grief, obviously that's Erika's place, and we all probably know how well she holds that space. So any of the methodologies and modalities that we use, I mean, I can say absolutely for certain that hypnotherapy works really well over Zoom. So it's just a skill like you would learn to do in real life. But as a counterpoint to your sort of fear of missing out on the friendship connection, there's another element, which is that I happen to know by talking to two of our peers from ecology that they were going to be in the same place, and kind of facilitated them meeting up. And they then shared photos with the community. Everybody was so pleased that they had met up, and it gave me just a little happy, oh my God, that's, it wouldn't have happened if not for having a third party friend who said, well, that this one is there, don't you? And like Erika said, we are so far spread. This is something that the online world does give us, is the ability to make connections all over the world in a way that previous generations never had. I mean, I vaguely remember at school being encouraged to get a pen pal in some foreign school, but there was something that I knew that it would never be any more than a couple of letters through the school. Whereas this gives us all that agency as well. We decide who we've connected to, and we know the various levels and depths that our conversation have gone to. And then we have that agency of, I'm going to take responsibility and accountability to make it happen that I see that person. And it's a wonderful thing, because making effort, it's a little bit like the contact to my mind. If it's very easy, we sometimes don't put effort into doing it. You know, you can have a friend who lives 2 doors down in the street, but you don't see them because you don't make the effort to see them. So there's an element to this of journeying to deepen the connection, so that when we continue our relationships in the ether, we have so much more. Like Erika will learn that I can't eat a donut without licking my lips, and all these sorts of things. So the combination and the effort, I think, are what would make the unique bond of an online community's real world connections, if that wasn't too confusing.
No, and so we're gonna wrap it up soon, I know, but I just wanted on 2 of your points here, right? You said about when you were in school, pen pals, all of that. So I'm thinking, like, this is another point, right? People are very quick to, and I'm talking about our younger generation, right? How they need digital detox and all of that. And I'm not denying that some of them quite well do. However, it expands their horizons also, because I can remember when Jared, my son, was younger, and he would talk about a new friend, and I'd be like, oh, are they in your class? No, they go to XYZ, which isn't even in your school district. And I'm like, how do you know somebody lives 2 towns over? Oh, Snapchat or whatever it was. At the time, I was like, what? Like, does not compute. Like, I don't understand any of this. And now in this conversation, I'm thinking, well, that's pretty amazing that even that young, his horizons were being expanded. Like, we're not sheltering and like pigeonholing, because we're getting to know people from all over the place. I was going to say something else, and now I totally forgot. It was good too, and I forgot what it was. Whatever, we'll come back.
So I'm still looking to talk to who's watching this and see what they think. So there's still a part of you who's out there that I want to hear from, and it's the chat piece, right? And there's that connection within that chat that I'm curious about what you guys think, because we will be meeting up, and you'll be seeing this probably after we meet up, but is that something you would want to see? Like all of us together and having a video with all of us in person in one screen, and maybe other people outside of that screen. What would that look like? And what could that be? So I want to know what you guys have to say. And I really want to build that chat piece of what we have here, because for me, what we have in these little squares is great, right? I really enjoy everybody here and have connections with everybody. But what I don't have connections to are the ones that are on the other side watching. And the only way to have that is that chat piece. And then maybe you coming on so you can experience the conversation and that community piece, which could be really cool to experience from not knowing it. And then we can have another conversation like this with you stepping in from maybe not being a Zoom person. That's really a piece that I'd like to see happen, or work it. So I don't know how it's going to work with us and the timing and the video dropping and all of that kind of stuff, but yeah, so there's a part of that.
I really love that. And I only can second what Brett says to you, our listeners. We don't know you. We don't know what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy. Come talk to us. We are human beings. Let's build connection. Let's build community. Actually, come along, let us know and get in contact with us, right? So on this note, I think there was a brilliant finish, Brett. On this note, goodbye to everybody. Drop us a line, connect with us, and see you soon. Bye.